Hi, I'm Bobbi Kidder, and I'm the director of the Fragments project that you're about to see. This is a performance by an intergenerational cast of 7 women who are responding through personal narrative to the poem Late Fragment by Richard Carver. Carver wrote this poem after he was diagnosed with lung cancer, which later claimed his life when he was 50 years old. Not long ago, I was having a meeting with 2 of my favorite collaborators, Jenny Jackson and Andrew Mustaine, and we were looking at the poem Late Fragment and talking about what it meant to us as we were looking it over and contemplating and folding it into a creative project we were working on. It wasn't long after that we heard that Andrew had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and he lived his life to the hilt, well documented in a journal that he posted on Facebook, and then he died earlier this year. I've been thinking about Beloved for a very long time, thinking about how grateful I feel to be beloved by my friends and family, and I hold in my heart an aspiration for what Martin Luther King referred to as the beloved community. So tonight we're going to emphasize beloved, first by sharing the poem with you. And did you get what you wanted from this life, even so? I did. And what did you want? To call myself beloved, to feel myself beloved on the earth.
Beloved, loving back.
Beloved, hear me, I.
Beloved, to let go, to love, to be. Here and now, with self and others, without judgment or expectation.
Beloved, what endures?
What it means to be beloved. It's when you wholeheartedly accept yourself and feel heard and loved by others just for being unapologetically and unnervingly you.
Beloved, held in heart space.
Beloved, cherished for your unique qualities.
What does it mean to be beloved? To be admired by others for one's accomplishments, to be sought for one's wisdom, to share in mutual joys and experiences, to give and receive unconditional love. Perhaps being beloved finds truth in all of these, and certainly finding that connection and community is a significant and important part of the human experience. But what of one's relationship to oneself? That ever elusive self-love, self-compassion, and forgiveness. These things we dole out so easily to others often falter when we stop to turn inward. There is a fear, an anxiety, a resistance, a sense of guilt or shame. I'm being selfish, says that little voice in the back of our heads. I don't deserve this. I'm not good enough. I'm a burden. These words have little truth, yet they burrow so deep that even when we tell ourselves differently, there is an echo keeping us stuck, frozen, unable to give ourselves the love we so desperately need. My own self-love has been and continues to be a journey. I have always been told that I am compassionate. I give of myself freely to boost and lift up others, especially those I care about. When I was young, this giving was often taken advantage of by peers. I grew to understand that my worth was what I could give to others, because not giving meant that I might lose someone. And that made taking space and time for myself incredibly difficult. Anxiety compounded this for me. I have always been a highly anxious person. As a child, this manifested in fears and obsessive-compulsive behaviors. As an adult, it manifests as perfectionism, worry, and tension. My immediate family has always been my constant, my reminder that maybe I am worth more than just the things that I do for others. I have loving parents and a wonderful older sister who I have always been very close to. With them, I never felt I needed to give anything other than love to feel beloved in return. Without this nurturance from my family, I may never have even begun this journey to self-love and compassion. It is because of them that I have learned to let go of the social connections that do not serve me. I have built a strong support system, and I surround myself with a group of people who love me without expectation or condition. What I give out is returned mutually. They accept my flaws and everything I am. They fill my cup at every turn, and I never have to wonder if my value to them is simply in what I am giving out. They are beloved to me, and I to them without question or anxiety, and that is a gift that I will cherish forever. These deep connections that I have cultivated in my life have paved the way for me to begin turning inward and to challenge some of this persistent negative self-talk that I have dealt with as I've grown. I'm still striving to call myself beloved, and I feel myself getting closer and closer to that ever-elusive concept. I realize as I continue to navigate this life that measuring my happiness and achievement and success may be what is holding me back. My need for perfectionism and my drive to give out all of myself into the world is not conducive to self-compassion. I cannot simply be in the here and now if I do not let go of those perceived expectations that are really just crafted by my own neurotic brain. To call myself beloved by challenging this inner monologue to its core. This means shifting the self-talk so that what I hear is you are allowed to be human. It is okay to rest. It is okay to feel anxious or sad. I have proven to myself through the relationships I have formed that my value is not simply in what I give to others. Now I must prove to myself that there is truth in these new messages so that I can let go of what is holding me back. And in doing so, I open myself up to so much more in terms of my ability to love myself and in turn to experience this life with joy and appreciation alongside the people that I love and who love me back. This continues to be a journey, but it is one that I will continue to pursue so that I can one day truly call myself beloved, in addition to feeling myself beloved on this earth.
Dear Mom and Dad, wow, I didn't think I'd have the opportunity to address the two of you together again. It's been almost 25 years since you were Mom and Dad. It feels like in the blink of an eye you became Mom period, Dad period. Despite your best efforts to completely separate your lives, you still share 3 children together, and as it turns out, a few other things. Like your love of Rachel Maddow. You both love to talk about politics on our phone calls and about our relatives, and sometimes you both will share glimpses into how your bodies and minds are changing with age. I do my best to sit in mourning with you, to hold space for your grief, to validate your anger and sadness, to push back against your denial that it isn't happening. That you are just as capable as you were even 5 years ago. It's okay that you are not. This is how it goes. The natural transformation of your body. I wish we could celebrate this evolution together. It feels marred by all things gone wrong. But what about all the things gone right? Can we focus on those? And did you get what you wanted from life, even so? Mom and Dad, some days, many days, I fear your response will be no. And what did you want, I ask? Dad, I've heard you say you wanted to leave the world in a better place than you found it, that racial and class justice would be realized, that you put the work in, and yet here we are still trying to solve the same problems. I guess you thought you were going to give your kids something better? When did you stop going to those secret communist meetings? Was it when you decided the best thing for your family was a steady paycheck after long hours at the steel mill? Does that make you a sellout or an armchair activist? I think it speaks to your work ethic and sense of responsibility. And I have to tell you, I see those things in me too. So thank you for showing me the value of hard work, of showing up for others, dependability, and finding joy in the work that you do. We may not have conquered systemic racism yet, but you have certainly passed down the cause, the drive, the fight, and that is critical. Mom, I've heard you say success is having your art out in the public domain, available for purchase. You want your creations, your heart, your soul to be seen. That art should not just collect in garages hidden from view. Well, I see you. Does that count? I remember growing up in a house full of art, landscape paintings and woodblock prints on walls and ceramic bowls on tables. I remember crawling up the attic stairs to spy on you as you played with color on large canvases. You encouraged my artistic expression, giving me supplies, sending me to art and drama camps, and paying for my piano lessons. In fact, you have nurtured all three of your children's creativity. What a beautiful gift to pass on. So, you see, Mom and Dad, if you are ever in doubt about what you have accomplished in this life, look no further than your three children. Maybe you can't tell from your vantage point, but you taught us some important life lessons. You showed us some important values to live by. Yes, we do struggle. We are still learning how to be in this world, and sometimes we blame you for that. But just know, you are beloved by us, and all we really want before you go is to know that you dearly love yourselves too. Your beloved daughter, Talle.
Thursday, September 29th, 1994. I feel like standing very still, like holding my breath. Like every time I exhale, I'm losing a perfect moment. I'm cheesy, but I feel like in order to have more perfect times, I have to unload, oxidize, forget some stored one. If I stop breathing and stand very still, I can still smell the rain, taste the coffee, hear the Sundays, feel, this is not poetry. It is not sappy girl diary poetry. It's fear of getting older. I found this tucked in the back of an old notebook a few months ago. I was 20 years old when I wrote it. 20 years old and just a few weeks into a new thing with a boy that felt maybe, possibly like it could become my first real relationship. At the same time, it was several months into what felt like the winding down of what had been my most important friendship all through high school and into college. I wrote it in Portland at La Patisserie, a cafe on the second story of an old Art Nouveau style building. I used to spend hours up there drinking cheap coffee and watching the rain fall over Old Town and writing not poetry in my not girl diary. I wrote it because I just had a perfect morning with my old best friend and my new, maybe possibly boyfriend. But what's funny is I forgot that morning completely. Instead, what I remember is writing about being afraid of forgetting it. And 27 years later, I still worry about all the pieces that go missing. I keep old diaries and drive my partner crazy with my collection of what we call Sarabilia. But how can I get rid of the yellow cardigan that my grandmother knitted in the 1940s and that I wore to shreds in the 1990s? Or the stacks of old notes from my middle school best friend that are mostly inside jokes that I don't understand anymore, and complaints about teachers whose names mean nothing to me. But throw them out now when they've made it this far? Recently, a dear friend of mine, Bobbi, shared a snippet from her diary about a day that we spent together in New York, 15 years ago. Most of it matched my own memories, but she also shared a snippet of conversation. And apparently, she'd asked me a question about New York City politics, and I'd answered quickly and confidently, sharing something I knew about the local situation. And that I don't remember at all. I don't even remember knowing that information, much less talking about it. And that gap in memory induced this sudden existential panic, because how can I know who I am now if most of who I've been is lost to time? And more, what will be left if I become old? Then I remembered that scrap of notebook paper from 1994 and thought of things I know now that 20-year-old me didn't. Like how I was right, my best friend and I were growing apart. That was one of the last easy mornings we'd spend together. But what I didn't know is that a few years later, we'd find our way back to each other. And in 2021, the only thing cooler than my friend is her daughter, who loves dragons and cats and writing stories. I didn't know that maybe possibly boyfriend would become my partner and best friend for the next 27 years and counting. And I didn't know that the director of a theater troupe I was part of in high school would become another dear friend. And a mere 10 years after that perfect day in 1994 that I've forgotten, I would share an insight about local politics with her when we were having tea at the Carlisle Hotel, because I lived in New York. Of course, most of it goes missing. We're lucky if we keep some scraps of paper and vague impressions of rain and coffee. But if we're lucky, as it seems I've been, being around for a while means knowing other people who have been around for a while too. People whose scraps are different from ours and who are willing to swap notes. We exchange little pieces of each other that feel like something new. I'm starting to think that the real perfect moments come from losing and losing and losing and still finding ourselves beloved.
I saw a glass. In its reflection, I saw someone familiar. Hair finer, skin tinted, eyes heavy with history. As I looked closer, I noticed it was me. In my old age, I stood beguiled. Lately, my life has been in an impasse. Stay and be safe, be comfortable, or go, yet discomforted, and feel free. I looked at my reflection and I stood there and debated with myself about what to inquire about.
who did I become, or what did I accomplish? So she turned to me and she asked, "And what do you want from this life? What do you want?" That took me aback. What do I want from this life? What do I want? All that came to mind was the feeling of being accepted. I played on the monkey bars in kindergarten, even though I was scared. In elementary school, I traded my Power Rangers lunchbox for scrunchies, even though I thought they were silly. In my teen years, I begged my mom for those magical pairs of pants, or that one haircut, or those one group of friends, or that one person that could make me feel like I belonged. But it was never enough. Yet here we are, in Beth. Plant my feet where they feel comfortable, or take a leap and see where I land. Even so, as I looked at my reflection, I do recall moments where I felt seen and loved. I recall spending time with my departed grandfather while he played games with me, sitting in his waistcoat and his low-rimmed glasses. My senses are filled with chocolate and popcorn as I sat with my friends and whispered in excited hushed tones about our hopes, our future, our dreams. Acknowledging my power in myself as a woman, as a creator, as a friend. That's where I found myself beloved. So I turned to my reflection. She smiled at me again and asked, "What do you want from this life? What do you want?" I smiled at her and said, "To be beloved on this earth and to be beloved."
Call myself beloved. To feel myself beloved on the earth. Honestly, he may as well have said to sprout wings and fly. It feels that impossible to me. I just don't know how to be loved. I mean, no, I know that people love me. That's not it. It doesn't soak in. Like I don't have a container for it, so it washes away. The core of it is that I think I have to earn love, be worthy of it. So I work at it. At being good enough, strong enough, and accomplished enough. with this fantasy that my flaws will somehow fade away and let people get at the real me, the best me inside. And eventually I'll be enough and allow myself to rest in love, to trust in it. I'd like to shift into an upbeat message here, something like, but I'm working on it. Yeah, that's a good one. But really, I'd rather stop working on it. Because I've been trying for so long already. I've read the right books, analyzed my childhood, talked to counselors, and I still don't know. I just want to say, darling, it's okay that you don't know. I still don't call myself beloved. I still don't feel myself beloved. And that has to be enough. That has to be the cracks where the light gets in, as a kindred spirit once sang. Maybe that's where I stop. Or maybe it's where I start.
Black and white, 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 gray. Gray. Gray? Gray. 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 Family forgiveness. Dreams, guilt. Love, mistakes. Friendships, shadows. Hope, loss. Health, pain. Rest, confusion. Did you get what you wanted, even so? Even so? Even when, even if, even then, even though, even what? Even so. Gray. To coexist. Duality. Balance. Harmony. Peace. Belonging. Gray. Black, white, and gray. What do I want? Gray. Even so. Even with the things that I can't control, even so. Even when sometimes I am the passenger and I want to be the driver, or most of the times I am the driver when I'd much rather be the passenger. Yeah, I want gray. To call myself Beloved, the act of me. I am calling, I am feeling. Beloved, me, even so, dearly loved on this earth. Not later or somewhere else, or not when or how or with who, but on this earth, which is now. Here, me, I. Beloved, dearest, sweetheart, love, darling, precious, adored, much loved person. Beloved, here, me, I. Apple of my own eye, favorite, treasured, cherished, beloved. I want to call myself beloved, to see the black and hold the white, live in the gray, to call myself beloved regardless, independent, unconditionally, even so, even when things are black and even when things are white, and even when I can't find the gray. To be loved, beloved, to create my own love in the dark and in the light and in the in-between, to welcome the dark and receive the light, to witness the black and the white, all to make my own damn gray. Gray.
Personal ad of a 19-year-old reads, romantic, sensitive, and compassionate Pisces seeks one from a similar persuasion, walks to the beat of a different drum but has rhythm and soul, willing to follow music for pleasure and dance with wild expression or appreciate such an ability. Meet me at the concert arena. Pretty much that was it. Dating app profile of a 56-year-old. Professor by day, over the sink dinner eater by night, seeking someone looking for a dining room table mate. Hiking, yoga, dog and music lover, travel enthusiast, rom-com addict, admits to binge watching, reasonably good looking and somewhat fit. Interested? Message me. As a young woman, I got hitched early. My first marriage started out as a one-dimensional yet psychedelic connection at a dead show, which ended abruptly with reality, a child while still very young, and a forced departure from the music tour in order to pay rent, put food on the table, and raise our kid. We were young and ill-suited for the most part, but we had had a magical shared experience and created a baby, so we committed. We made mistakes. We had fun. We got frustrated. We forged ahead. We got mad. We made up. I achieved much of what I worked for. A family, a career, a community, and a home. But it often felt so hard. The engine that once drove our love simply ran out of fuel. 3 decades later, there were 3 kids all grown and 2 adults who had grown apart. The gig was up. It happened slowly, but here's when I began to realize that this relationship was over. It started when I read on a friend's blog that she referred to her husband as my beloved. This gave me pause. Was I a beloved? Also, did I view my partner of 35 long years as my beloved? What did beloved actually mean to me? This haunted me for a good long while, years actually. I contemplated this term of endearment. I sought guidance. I journaled while keeping up the daily drill of life. And then came the illumination in one moment when I realized I was not beloved by the one who promised this to me, nor was I holding him with this tender and cherished term either. Here's how I got the message. We were going camping with a group, and due to illness, I was arriving a day later after him. When I got to camp, after many hours of driving alone, still feeling a little puny, I saw my tent was still in the stuff sack, tossed out of the truck and laying in the dirt. The significance of this neglect told me volumes of what our relationship had come to mean. Independence to the point of indifference. It signaled what my life had become, but also with that came the realization that this was not the life I wanted anymore. I hold and cherish many memories of my early years. Even so, when all we have in the present is resting on the laurels of the past, it is unsustainable. My heart began to crave anew. So what came next? I gave myself time, aloneness, paid attention to my needs, my wants, took stock. Once again, I contemplated being beloved and how that would look, feel, and offer. Was I going to submit my dating profile online? How much wine would I need to drink in order to hit submit? What picture from 5 to 10 years ago would I upload? What friends would I need to recruit to encourage me to go through with it? What was wrong with being alone for the rest of my life anyway? Yet I wanted to be someone's beloved, like my friend's husband, like the age-old wedding ceremony greeting with all that promise and good intention. I wanted to be beloved like I knew I could love back. I wanted a beloved relationship that would be rich in experience, shared intellect, interests, inspirations, and unrestrained by conditional expectations. So I crossed out the dating profile that I never submitted anyway, and instead I made myself a private list in my journal and in my heart. I'm looking for 3 things in a partner. Number 1, a good man. Number 2, someone with a career, not just a job. And number 3, someone who sees me. And so without looking further, I live my life, content to have adventures, friendships, and more good work that I can finish in a day. And then it happened. A perchance conversation with a friend of a friend next to a stream, which revealed something quite compelling. I was recounting a recent travel experience to South Africa and told a funny yet traumatic story about losing my cell phone in a river. He told stories too, and after a few hours of exchange, this new sort of friend made a joke about me dropping my phone in water and finding rice. I sat up at attention and thought, he was really listening to me. This is not like most guys who just like to hear themselves talk. I started noticing things about him that were kind of cool, like we both liked cheddar cheese puffs and white wine, and we could sit by a loud creek and still carry on a riveting discussion. That afternoon turned into evening, and until it was almost dark, we didn't leave our chairs, not once. What an odd sensation to be so seen and even better appreciated for the view. Our creekside chat turned into a courtship. Finally, I had a real date, one that offered me opportunities to get dressed up, go out, and experience new energy. Then one night, I packed a toothbrush just in case, and we had another marvelous evening and then a magical nighttime. 3.5 years later, and every day since has been a revelatory experience of feeling so much love coming my way. And now I have someone who can absorb all I have to give back. That's how I learned the meaning of my beloved, to love and be loved. To be beloved is a two-way exchange, and one that I am deeply grateful for understanding finally as a ripened woman.
I failed to become a movie star novelist who saved the world.
Even so, I persevere with courage and compassion.
Do you feel that rich, moist soil between your toes?
To call myself beloved, the act of me. I am calling, I am feeling beloved, me, on this earth, dearly loved.
If you dig in, you can feel your ancestors lifting you up.
Even so, even though I don't yet know.
Even so, to share a love so deep and desperate that it hurt, yet eventually to have to let it go. Painfully, woefully, yet necessarily, to re-experience love of self.
Even when, even if, even though, even what, even so.
What if the disappointments, the failures, and the losses were my real life all along?
Tonight, we cooked rice noodles and edamame, and the carrots were perfect.
To see life as an adventure.
Finding strength in self and among others.
I have the power to call on myself, to take space and exist.